is January 12th, 2023, going through Dotloop and Dotloop 101. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to stop me at any given point. Either unmute yourself or raise your virtual hand. If you type something in the chat, Haley will try and catch that for me. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now. I think I'm actually in Williamsburg, so let me get out of this. And let's go over here to training. All right, so this is the main Dotloop training. I'm sorry, the main Dotloop screen. When you come in, all the loops are here. So let's just take a quick little tour of what the tasks are, what the buttons will give you. First thing here, reporting. You guys probably will never need to click this. You've got to generate a lot of transactions on here to get this up and going, so don't worry about the reporting so much. Loops right here. This is where all your loops will be. And you can sort them either in a grid view like this. You can change it over here on the right-hand side to a list view like this, or you can come down here and have a compact view like so. So any of those three are fine. I typically have it in grid view, though sometimes I'll use list view. It doesn't matter. Any of those are fine. You will also be able to search here in this bar. If I type in Tim, anything that's got my name associated will start to pop up. I can scroll through and see all of these different things that are associated with Tim. I could change it to 1, 2, 3, 4. Anything that has 1, 2, 3, 4 in it will show up there. I could also put it into, let's just say Haley was my client. Let's see if I type in her last name, I don't have anything associated. I can also go here to search all loops just in case I might have archived or changed some of the filters and change it again, nothing there. But let's go ahead and put Vohar in because I'm sure Vohar will trigger something. And there you go, there's Vohar popping up in the highlight. So you can use this search bar any which way you want, no matter which one of these three mechanisms you use, grid, list, or the compact view. I typically don't use my filters. I typically don't use these sorts. Certainly you can, though they're up to you how you want to use those. All right, this activity log here, well, I'm not going to click on it because it's such a big account. It will take forever to generate. As you go through it, you will see all the activity you've done in your log. In this one, there are 39 new notifications for this training office. So that's what this is here. Again, not going to click on it. It takes a little bit of time to generate something like that. Just not something you guys need to see from this level here. I will, however, go into a loop in a little bit and show you those notifications. All right, back up here from loops, we'll go to tasks. Tasks are if you assign yourself tasks in your loops, this is where they will show up. Again, there's probably no tasks in here because I don't typically assign tasks, but we'll take a look real quick and see. Yep, here assigned to me, if there's anything overdue, anything completed, and then all tasks that are associated with any of my properties that I have in here. So if you're a big task list taker, task list user, then this would be a great little tool to go see what your tasks are. This is not where you assign tasks per se. This just shows you the tasks that are doing association with your loops, which I'll show you when we get into that loop here. All right, the people here. Think of this as your big old Rolodex of people. So here's your contacts. If I type in Vohar, every Vohar that has been put in here, there's my son, there's a Batman I created, there's a giraffe I created, there's my mom, there's me with a Gmail, another me, another me, another me, there's my dad. So these are all Vohars associated. I can see who's in there. The reason I want to show this to you here, right here, the people section, if you ever have anyone who says, I can see the documents, I just can't sign the documents, you may have assigned them to tvohar at BHHS Town, but the person is reviewing them in tvohar at AOL based on their emails. So you got to make sure they're in the right account to sign. So if you're sending to tvohar at BHHS Town, they say they can see it, but they can't sign it. Verify with them that you are, or they're looking at those documents through their email address bhhstown.com. So if you ever have any issues with that, that could be a problem. The other thing could be you could have a person here without an email address. So you could just have Tim Vohar. There's no email address, and that would be a reason they would see.
Did he freeze for anyone else?
Yes.
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 Bummer.
All right, I think I'm back up. The internet went down. Am I back up? Okay, thanks. All right, sorry about that. The internet went down for a second. All right, we are back up. All right, so in here is templates. I'm going to have a few more templates than the rest of you, but over here in your templates will be all of your libraries and documents. I'll show you how to
Can I interrupt a second?
Sure, go ahead.
I'm sorry, because when you stopped, you were saying if they don't have an email address and then you froze. So what in
Okay.
the people
Yep.
thing?
Yep, let me come back here. So I'm back over here in people, and I'll come back here to contacts, and let me type in Vohar. You may type in a name, and let's say Tim Vohar right here, Tim M. Vohar, there was no email address. They might see Tim Vohar because they're in tvohar@bhhstown.com, but the email or the signature was assigned to Tim M. Vohar and not Tim Vohar. They wouldn't be able to sign. They'd see that their name was there, but they wouldn't be able to sign their name. So this is where some of those issues arise when people say, I can see it, but I can't sign it. So you want to come
So
up
they have
into,
to have multiple email addresses for that then?
if there's not multiple email addresses. It could happen if they have multiple profiles, if somehow you've put a second profile in here. So
Gotcha,
yeah,
thanks.
so that's where you want to come up here. If someone says they can see, but they can't sign, you want to come up here first, make sure you don't have two people. That's, I would say 95% of the time is you have two profiles, two email addresses, and they're looking at one email, but it's been assigned to the other email. So that's about 95% of the time. That's the issue when they can see but not sign. The other 5% is typically we find military personnel in secure locations will sometimes be able to see but not be able to sign. So there's some issues with military personnel. Those are the two most common. I would say 99.9% of the time if they can see but they can't sign. So that's where that is there. Other questions on that? All right, let's go over here to templates. Again, I'm going to have a lot more templates than you are, and because I'm an admin. So again, we have all the libraries here, which you'll be able to have. Here are some tasks that you can have over here. And one of those things are agent tasks. So I'll click on the agent general listing task. If you are always repetitively doing the same things and you want to add them to Dotloop as reminders and triggers for yourself, you can simply come in here. You can start with the general listing task list. These are already pre-prescribed with all of these different steps for you, tasks for you. You can come over. It says send a personal note to the seller, unassigned, and then that would assign it for you or for them. You can also come here and create your own task list if you want to add your own task list. That would be creating one, and you can see right here I have Tim's training task list. So you could come in here and create your own task list by creating or clicking on this button here, task list. All right, if I go to Tim's task list, because it's created by me and it's not controlled by the company, I can add any amount of tasks I want to by simply clicking there and clicking add a new task 1, 12, 23, and it now assigns that task. Once I'm in my tasks, I can also come over here and I can use the drop down box or drop down tab and say it is due today, tomorrow, this week, next week, after another task. And then I can also assign it to any person that's in my grouping. So I can assign it to myself. That will send me a reminder to do that task. Questions on the tasks? All right. Next thing that's very important for you to do when you come into Dotloop and check things out is you want to come to My Account. Now ignore all of these. Since I'm the admin, I get a lot of them. You're going to click on My Account. You're going to come over here, make sure inside of your personal settings, you have all of your contact information. All right, make sure all of this information is filled in as much as possible. This will be used for auto filling some of your forms, not all, but some. So make sure this is all correct. Once you verify that your personal information is correct, you'll come over here to profiles. Let me scroll down to mine. You're only going to have one profile. So yours will be right here. You won't have to scroll like I will. Then you can come over here and you make sure your profile name is correct as you're doing business, your office phone number. This is the broker license number. So 0226-021-073, that is for Berkshire Hathaway. So you can make sure that's auto-filled for yourself by putting it in there. If you want to screenshot that, take a picture, write it down. That can be in there. That will auto-fill for you in the forms as you go through your transactions. The broker agent ID is set to your RAIN number. So whatever your RAIN number is, that will be what your broker agent ID will be. Your office ID is your RAIN office number. So this is the Norfolk number, 109707. Yours will be 1097 something something. So that will be there. This is my DPOR license number, 0225. So all of your licenses should be 0225. If you have a 0226, that's not the right license number. You want the 0225 number that you have here, and there's the rest of my license number. You should be associated with Berkshire Hathaway Town Realty. Don't worry about the worksheets. This is a test that I've been doing with Dotloop for a few years. You should not need to add an association. This should be already auto-populated, auto-filled. If you're working with North Carolina, different profile, different situation, we will address that with you on a one-on-one basis. Company name should be auto-filled to Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Town Realty. I always add Norfolk, so when my things autofill, especially if I'm dealing with another agent in Williamsburg or Virginia Beach, it would show which office I was in versus the office they're in. I don't need to fill in the company owner or company email. That doesn't need to auto-populate. Here is my office address, so you can make sure yours is set up to you. Here are your notification settings. Sometimes people will come in here and turn these off. Sometimes people are okay with getting all these notifications. But again, these you can control by simply coming over here and checking or unchecking the check boxes. And then once you're done, always make sure you hit save. And then most of your information will get filled in. So once you put yourself and say Tim Vohar in the listing, it will fill in the office address, it will fill in your ID numbers, and you shouldn't have to really mess with that again once you've typed it into the system. If you do find that there are fields on a form that are not filling in with your license number, your RAIN ID, your office address, please do send an email to training@bhhstown.com, and I will get those resolved as quickly as possible. Please do try and include a screenshot, line number, some kind of reference point so we know where we're going to fix when we go in there to take a look. All right. Any questions on getting this profile set up and making sure you have all your information in there? Okay, so let's go over here to the loops and let's go into the basic loop structure. All right, first thing we're going to want to do when we're doing this is we're going to add a loop. And since we are trying to get listings, we're promoting listings, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add in here a listing address. So I'm going to type in 48th Street. And as I type, you can see it starts to give me choices. I'm going to come down here, see if I can see it. Nothing there for 48th Street. So let's get street and Norfolk. And there we go. 819 West 48th Street, Norfolk, Virginia, Google Maps. This is the one I want. Always try and start with the Google Maps. It's always when you're doing a listing, because then it will autofill a lot of the address information into the templates for Dotloop for you. So we're going to choose that. We're going to come down here to continue. And I'm going to choose select the template. I'm doing a listing residential standard loop. And also this is a test one, so there's not a whole bunch, but there is a listing residential with a lead-based paint. So if you are doing an older one, 1978 or before, there is a template that includes the lead-based paint forms. But in this case, I'm just going to use this listing residential standard loop. I'm going to click on continue. And done. And we're creating the loop.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Do you have to decide at this point whether it's going to be the the Virginia Realtors loop or Rain loop or CVR loop, or don't you have to decide that right off the bat?
Which office are you in?
Williamsburg.
So if you're in the Williamsburg office, there are a couple of templates set up for you. You should be using the templates that say W- or Williamsburg. So we should always be choosing the W- or Williamsburg. You really shouldn't be selecting or choosing anything other than those, because those templates have been set up by America to include all the necessary paperwork that you need.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, sure. All right, so here's our loop, and we're going to see the loop. So I click on View Loop. And right here, we can see we have all of our listing doc information, our listing documents. All right, so let's just take a tour real quickly here. All right, so you can go back to your loops. At this point, you can see your activity log, which I'll now click on since it's little. And you can see that I created this loop at 11:16. I also did the standard loop to the loop, or the forms to the loop. And now after I go through this a couple of times, we'll come back and see all the updated information. That's why it's very important, if you are working with multiple agents in a loop, you come in and act as yourself. Do not imitate or be somebody else, because then all liability will be on that one person for doing the action. So if you're a team or you're an admin, you should always use your own profile. Do not use somebody else's profile. Otherwise, somebody else might be getting in trouble for your actions. So if you're trying to be mischievous and bad, then I guess that's what you would be doing. But please use your profile. All right, send earnest request. Obviously, this is a listing. We're not going to really ask for an earnest. But if you wanted to have a buyer and you were sending your earnest, this is where you would click your send earnest request. And then here's your submit for review button. Once you have all your signatures and you're ready for admin to do their job, you'll click on submit for review. That way it gives notifications to the admin that they have work ready for them to work on. All right, 819 West 48th Street, the address, nothing real complicated right there. But the listing for sale, if I needed to change that to a listing for lease or real estate other or purchase, I could simply change the tab there. Once I've got that listing for sale, I'll come in, I can do a pre-listing or I can do active listing. Once it goes from pre-listing to active listing, pretty much staff takes over and labels it under contract, withdrawn, sold, terminated, archived, etc. as they go through. So we'll just make it pre-listing since I haven't done anything yet, but I'll get that into my log system. If I want to look at the details here, I'll click on this. And what happens when I get to this details page, I have listing for sale. It's a pre-listing using the custom address of 819 West 48th Street. I am in the office. Here is the admin for the office. If I had any notes, I could put them in here. And when I come down here, you can see I could search for the address, but it's not necessary because it already says that it's in the USA. It already says 819. It already says West 48th Street. It already says Norfolk, Virginia, 23508. And I didn't type any of that information. That simply came when I chose the address from Google when I was doing my setup. So you can see how much time I saved by not having to type that information, just verifying it's all correct. If it's a purchase list price, I can come in here, say we're going to list this for $450,000. The sale commission rate is 6%. The buy side will be 3%. The sell side will be 3%. Total commission sale, 6%. No earnest money needed at this point. Earnest money is not done there. I'm not going to go into the split sides on this point, but I've got these all set to go. I can come down here if there was a contract, right? I could put the contract date or the closing date. Again, it's a listing, so I'm not worried about those dates at this point. I don't have any offers or offer dates, so we're not going to put anything there. There's no contract information at this point. If there was a referral, you could put the referral and the referral source, but since there's no referral, nothing to put there. Listing expiration date, I can simply come in here to the calendar and I can go forward and say we're going to make this expire March 31st, and we're going to have the listing date take effect, I guess, is that today? Today's the 12th, and we can add the original price of $450, and we're going to put the current price of $450. No mortgages at this point going to follow in. If there were homeowners association dues, we could simply put those in there. If we had the name, we could put that in there. If there were any exclusions or remarks you wanted to put in here for yourself, you could do that. If we knew the MLS area, we could put that in there. If we knew the legal description, we could add that in. If you knew your map page, map grid, we can add that in here. Let's say that's ODU. If I knew the lot 1, or lot 12. If I knew the deed page, deed book section, simply can put all those pieces of information in there. If I know the year, 1982, number of bedrooms, 4, square footage, 1,600. School district, if I knew it at this point, if I knew the type, I could put that, bathrooms, 2, and then I can hit save. Now, the reason I went through that to show you all this is because once that save is successful, now you have to go back to the top to scroll, click on back to the loop. Now I'm going to choose this little checkbox here in front of listing documents. It now brings up my archive, make a copy, open, print, download, fax, or share. All right, what I'm going to do first is I need to get all the listing paperwork filled out. I need to click on open. All right, once I click on open, I have autofill. I can come in here, select a person, and I don't have anybody added, so I could add the person. And let's see if I can find Giraffe. There we go, there's Giraffe, and we'll choose Giraffe, and it autofills his email address at that point. Giraffe is the seller, and I'll click on add person. And now you can see Giraffe is seller number 1. And I'm listing agent number 1, I would go in here and add my name. I'm not going to add that at this point because I'm in an admin account, and adding that at this point is kind of redundant, but my name would simply be here. So if I choose training office, that should work and create a demographic or a demonstration of how that works for you. All right, we've got all this information already preloaded as I typed it in earlier. Scrolling on down, click on autofill.
Hey, Tim.
Yes.
Monica has a question.
Okay.
I was trying to, what you were doing before, where you were doing the autofills in the previous screen. How did you get there? Can you show me how you got where you were putting in the year and the beds and the bathrooms and all of that?
Sure. So you can click on autofill here. This needs a second to load. And when you click on that button, autofill, this will bring this up and you can type any of that information into here.
Is that the same one as the, okay. I guess if
It's
you
the
keep
same,
scrolling
yeah.
down.
It's the same. I'm just going to go back here in the loop. It's the same as the view details. It's 2 different ways to get to the same information.
Okay, that's what I was asking, because I've accessed it the other way, but I haven't accessed it this way before.
Sure. Yep.
Okay.
It's the same
Thank
thing. Yep. You can access it either through the view details right here.
Okay.
Or when we get to this step, because now that I've gone through and I've opened it once, it won't automatically choose autofill. because I've already opened autofill once, so it thinks I've already autofilled what I wanted, which you can see all this information here. But if I
Okay.
click autofill here, come down here, click autofill. Now you can see the training office has been added. It's now yellow. So
Okay.
that would be Tim Vohar, right? As opposed to that.
Okay, so it's and it's exactly the same like template and everything. It's just two ways to get to it. Okay.
Correct.
Thank
Mhm.
you.
There's Dotloop has a lot of different back and forth ways, so you don't have to go back out of something to fix something or change something. So it's very nice. It's a couple doorways to get to the same information. And you can see that I didn't type any of this information here. This all came from when I typed into that view details page. And all this other information I could come in, put in there. You can see anything that was added new is in yellow since the last time I did the autofill. And then you can just go through the process of going in and putting in your information. Now I'm going to skip data entry and get down here to the bottom. So right here it says firm, BHHS Town Realty, listing agent, signed to training office. I click on sign now. This brings up my adopt a signature, click it, and there I've signed it. Now I wouldn't recommend signing it until after you've got the paperwork back from your client. I'm just showing you how you would sign it right there. All right, and then right here, it's got it assigned to G sign here. So Giraffe would sign here when Giraffe got their paperwork. And you can see in here, yellow, we added some information. And then this time when I click on listing agent and I click sign now, I don't have to validate my signature because it already knew that it was me. And just go through the process. Now, I filled out everything, everything's set up. I want to get my client to sign it. I can click save and share here, or I can click on back. It'll ask to save changes. I'll say yes. And the reason I will choose to go back is because I don't need to send them all the paperwork that might have been autofilled. I only want to send them certain documents. So rarely do I do save and share when I'm doing it initially. So I'll come here, I'll choose all. I don't need to send them the listing cover information sheet. And if they didn't have a mortgage, I wouldn't have to send them this. I don't need to send them the checklist because this is my checklist. I don't need to send them the post-sign installation removal form. That's for us. And send them the CDIF. We're good. So those are the documents I want to send for signatures. I click on share. And it says G Giraffe has 22 fields assigned. Now, this is a point I want to make sure of emphasis. This says can sign. You can send it to somebody to view only. So if you wanted to send it to an attorney, you wanted to send it to a family member that the client had requested, closing entity, you can choose that to, actually, I can't do that at that point. You can change it to view only. You can do it to can sign because it's going to the client. I would strongly encourage you not to send it as can fill and sign. If there's one document you wanted them to fill something out, you would send that separately. But if I send this to G Giraffe, my client, as can fill and sign, they could change everything and anything I've already entered. And then I'd have to go read the whole contract to make sure they hadn't changed anything I didn't want them to change. Can edit in private is when you're working with another agent, whether they're in our company or another company, and in Dotloop, and you want them to be able to make changes within the contracts and create new clean versions of the contract for signatures. So that would be edit in private, and that is when we get a little bit deeper into Dotloop training. You can also, when the agent says, I don't want that Dotloop thing, I just want a PDF, you can attach a PDF and you could share it to them with the PDF. So then you have two purposes. One, it will track that that agent received it or client received it, and they would get their PDF at the same time. I'll click share. Click on done. And now you can see here, I didn't share this, so only one person has access. If I click over here, I can see that this is waiting on G to sign. And then you can see that with all these number 2s here, waiting on G to sign. And then let me scroll down a little bit down here. This is where your people section is. So you can see that G Giraffe, the admin, my name would be in here if this was an agent account. So that would all be set up right there. All right. Let's take those away. And there we go right there. If I wanted to add tasks, I would come here, click on load template, scroll down to Tim's training task list, click add. And now all my tasks are at the top of my loop. If I wanted to have those tasks at the bottom of my loop, I can drop them all the way down to the bottom, and there they are. And now I'll get reminders if I have anything assigned for, like, so right here, I'll get a signed reminder in an email tomorrow, and a flyer would be the next day or today. Any questions on tasks? All right.
I have a question
Sure,
on the
go ahead.
tasks.
Sure.
So you were going to assigning dates and times, and I know on the previous like general tasks list that you were showing at the beginning of this, can you kind of, I guess from that other list, go ahead and say, okay, on day one, I want to do the following. On day two, I want to do the following, and then it'll auto populate into each new loop that you set up. Do you kind of understand what I'm saying? Can you go ahead and set up your workflows and templates, and then in the other fields, and then it'll, every time you create a new loop, it'll just do that same order? Did you freeze? You froze.
You stumped him.
Okay, I'm back. The internet cut out again. Okay, so now when I add this general task list, let me go and I think I'm answering your question. Let me get here. So right here, this is the general task list. It's unassigned, but they're assigned for certain days, like send personal note day 1.
Mhm.
So if you wanted to come in here, you could come in here and change these things. But they do have specific day 1, day 2 assigned for these pieces.
What I'm asking is, do you have to do that for each loop, or can you just go ahead and set up under your general tasks list field, set it up so that you don't have to do it on every single loop?
Yeah, you can do that on if you create your own task list.
Uh-huh.
So when I come here to Tim's training, I could come here and say due date today, tomorrow, this week, next week, after another task.
Okay.
So I can't assign a specific date because it doesn't know what that specific date would be. But I could say when I take the listing and I start the loop, I could say I want to add the lockbox tomorrow. So now it says unassigned tomorrow, or whatever I just clicked on, was that photos? So yeah, so photos are taking tomorrow. Create the flyer tomorrow. Add the sign today. Add the lockbox today. And then when I add that in, those will put the dates that are associated with that date right away.
Okay.
So let me go back here.
So will it only do it under your tasks list? If you can't change that on the, if you go back one on the ones that Berkshire sets up?
Yeah, you can change it once you've got it into the actual loop. Here's that agent general task list. Then you can go in here and change that. But if you're asking, can you change it before you bring it in? No, you cannot.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't change the master template, but you can adjust it once it's into your loop.
Okay, but it's at least kind of a general way of saying day 1, day 2, next week. At least
Correct.
gets you kind of targeted there. Okay.
That's
Thank you.
correct. Mhm.
Can you edit the ones that, so I know you said under Tim's task list, can you also do that under the ones that Berkshire set up? I've never played with the task before, and I'm interested in playing with this after our meeting.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can come in here and do the same thing.
Okay.
Just once it's in, you can work on it. You can't change it until it's into the loop.
Right.
You can edit your task list in the template,
Mm-hmm.
and you can edit it in the actual loop. So there's 2 places you can edit it. One is in the template, and then one in the loop. And then down here, you can edit this once it's in the loop.
Okay.
Okay.
Tim, does it send you an email when those dates come up on the calendar?
It will
Okay.
if you, yep.
Fine.
Yes, if you are in your account and your profile. So I always like to make sure I reiterate this. When you come down here to this and you say, I get too many emails, this is where you would get that. See the little checkbox, daily task reminders? It will send you one email per day with all the tasks that are due. It will not send you 10 different emails with 10 different tasks. You will get one daily task reminder.
Okay.
Sherry brings up another good point. Is there a calendar in Dotloop, or is there a Zapier integration that will that'll link to your Google Calendar so that you can look at your calendar and see these are the tasks that I need to do?
No, that is what they're working on for their 2.0 version of Dotloop.
Okay.
That not currently, they are working on that.
So when you make your own task list,
Mhm.
can you use the existing one and modify it and save it as your own?
No, you cannot.
Okay, thanks.
Now that I said that, hold on one second. Let me check something. Let me get out of this admin one. Let me see what the permissions are lower. Yeah, no, you cannot. Yeah, these are locked.
I think your screen's frozen.
Am I frozen again?
Your screen, your
I see 'em.
screen is.
I'm on the agent general listing task list.
No, it still says load task list.
You're good on my
How do I
side.
refresh? Okay, maybe it'll fix it. Thanks.
I'll reshare. So yeah, so this is these are locked right here. So yeah, no, you can't do that. But if you came up here to yours, you could do different things with your own. But these are locked, so you can't do anything with these. But let me see, I just saw something, so hold on. Let me see if I can do something real quick. Let me see.
When you changed, it made my screen go blank now. I was seeing it, and then now everything's blank on my end.
Yeah, I'm in the back end real quick.
Mine's fine. That's weird. I can see him doing stuff.
Nope, I can't change it. I can't open it up. I was trying to see if I could open it up so that you guys can make copies of it, but you can't. You can only add it in and then make the modifications. So my recommendation is if you really want to set something real specific for yourself, create a new task list. Let me not do that in that one. Y'all see my screen again?
I don't.
I don't.
Okay. We'll reshare it real quick.
I do. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, we'll reshare real quick.
When is the 2.0 coming out?
Last quarter.
Oh, okay, so we should see the
No,
grade soon.
no.
Okay.
Nope. That's the thing with software. They always tell you something and then they're like, oh, well, we're going to push it. So I have not heard what the new push date is, but it was supposed to be out last quarter, which ended, what, 12 days ago? So yeah, so the best thing to do is if you really like the tasks and you want to get into it and you really want to control it, you could screenshot or copy this task list so you wouldn't forget anything, and then come right here and click on task list create, and then type Monica task list. And then you can add the tasks.
I'm such a checklist person. You don't know how much this is making me happy right now.
I'm sorry I can't make it easier. But yeah, you can do setup file, and then you can come over here and you can say assign to, and then that would pretend that we're Monica, right? Because you're not going to be Tim. And then you're going to do that today or tomorrow. Well, today's first day, so I want to do that the first day. And then when it goes in, it would be whatever that first day is, the 12th, 13th, 14th, whatever you create that list. And then you just keep on adding your tasks as you go down. Other questions? All right, we have gone way over. I appreciate your patience. For those of you that have hung on, if there's any other questions, I'll take them now. Otherwise, we'll wrap this up and see you guys back if you're here.